Okay, in this last section for the day, we're going to be talking about, well, continuing solving these linear equations, but using two more properties. We learned in 3.2 that you can add something to both sides of an equation or subtract something from both sides of an equation. In this section, we'll learn that you can multiply both sides of an equation by something or divide, so long as what you're multiplying or dividing by is not zero. So if you start with an equation, then you're always allowed to multiply both sides of the equation by some number, so long as that number is not zero. Okay? And then, if we start with an equation, we can always divide both sides of the equation by a number, so long as that number is not zero. Now, I'm realizing here that they don't have that written in the top one. They don't have C can't be zero. Technically it can, but then it wouldn't make any sense, because if you multiply both sides of an equation by zero, you're just going to wind up saying 0 equals 0, but that doesn't help you solve the equation. So we just want to eliminate the idea from our minds that we're ever going to multiply or divide both sides by 0. Alright, so now in this problem, this first one, what I want you to realize here is that we have 7 times x equals 63. Now this is very different than this problem, 7 plus x equals 63. If we were doing the problem here on the right, the way we would do this is we would subtract 7 on both sides, right? We would say, okay, need to get rid of that 7, so I'm going to do 7 take away 7 plus x, and then I'm going to do 63 and then take away 7. That way these 7's cancel. Now the reason we could do that way is because there was a separation. We had two terms here. So the addition between those allowed us to work on the 7 by itself. Now in this problem, we don't have two terms on the left hand side. We have a single term. There's multiplication there between those two. So because this is multiplication, the only way to get that x by itself is to actually get rid of this factor of 7. So what I'm going to have to do is divide both sides of this equation by 7. And 7 is not 0, so I'm not worried about division by 0. And what happens is 7 divided by 7 is 1. So those cancel out, give me a 1 times x, which is just x. And then on the right hand side, 63 divided by 7 is 9. So we get x is equal to 9, and that's our solution. So there's a major difference here between the way we solved this and the way we solved the problems in the previous example, or previous section. Now let's take a look at this next one. N divided by 5 equals -4. And we're trying to solve for n. Now notice that n is already being divided by 5, and we want to get rid of that. We want to do the opposite of that. We want to undo that division by 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by 5 over 1. And let me do it over here, times 5 over 1. Now notice what happens over here. On this side, the 5's cancel. Just reduce out to give you, 5 over 5 is 1, so that just gives you an n on the left side. And over here, you're doing 5 over 1 times -4, but you can look at -4 as being a fraction also, and then just multiply straight across the way we do fractions. So -4 times 5, it gives you -20, over 1 times 1 is 1, and so n is just going to give you, so n is just going to be -20. So two good examples. If you have your variable and you have a number being multiplied in front, we're going to divide that number out. If you have your variable and it's being divided already, then we're going to multiply by that number to get it to basically become a 1. Alright, so let's try these on your own. I'll work them out now. So here we have -8 times y equals -40, so we want to get rid of the -8 in front that's being multiplied, so we will divide by -8. We have to divide by negative because a negative over a negative is positive, and we're trying to get positive y, so we divide by -8. Whatever we do over there, we do over here, and that becomes a 1, so we just have y, and over here we get negative divided by negative is positive, so we get 5. Now on the next one, we have 7 equals w over 8. We're trying to get w by itself, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 8 over 1. And these 8's are going to reduce out and just give me a w over here. And then remember, this is like 7 over 1, so you just multiply straight across, and you should just get 56. Okay, this one's a little tricky. Negative y equals 9. So what we want is to try and get positive y equals something instead of negative y. So look at that negative in front as a negative 1, and let's go ahead and divide through by negative 1, and the negative over negative becomes positive, so we just get y, and then on the other side you get positive 9 divided by negative 1 should give you negative 9. So that's how we get rid of a negative sign in front of our variable. We just divide both sides by negative 1. Same thing on this one. I have a negative 6x, so I'm going to divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6, and that's going to give me 48 divided by 6 gives me 8. And then over here, these negative 6 are going to reduce out, and so you just get x over there. Okay, so now we're going to have a little bit of work to do. So we're going to kind of combine everything we've learned together. So in this one, we're first going to notice we've got an equation, and we've got like terms here. We can put those together. That's 5q equals, and then these are like terms, so 54 take away 9 is 45. And now we notice we have 5 times q, so what we're going to do is divide both sides by 5. This will reduce out to just give me my q, and 45 divided by 5 is going to be 9. Okay, this group work, I'll let you work yourself. And here we go. All right, so a couple things. First, this is a negative. I'm going to distribute the negative through. So that gives me negative k plus 11. Then I still have minus 3k, and then minus 11, and then equals negative 16. Collecting like terms together, I've got negative k and negative 3k. That should give me negative 4k. I also have plus 11 minus 11. That's 0, so that's gone. Equals negative 16. And now I will divide both sides by negative 4 so I can get k by itself. These reduce out to give you just k. And then over here, negative 16 divided by negative 4 is just 4. So k is 4. All right, that should help you work through your homework online, and I'll see you in the Zoom classroom if you want any help or have any additional questions.